Here at Radlett this morning, delighted to be joined by Director of Cricket Alan Coleman, Richard Johnson, first team coach. Probably about time we had one of our regular catch-ups. Jono, I'm going to start with you. Let's kick off with the Metrobank One Day Cup. Obviously, campaign is ended. We didn't qualify. Some positives, some negatives. What's your summation of the tournament?
Yeah, disappointing. For us, it was the sort of nearly tournament. You know, we nearly played really well through it. We nearly got some wins, but ultimately fell short and was disappointing as a whole. I think with our team, we should have competed better. I think if you look at it as a whole, there were games there that we left out there that we lost that we should have won. I look at 3 games really that we should have won. That would have put us sort of in the hunt then. So yeah, disappointing as a whole. It was a good tournament for younger players to get more experience, more exposure to white ball cricket. It kept some of our senior sort of more red ball players ticking over for the last 4 games of the season as well. So those are the sort of positives, individual performances and keeping people experience and ticking over. So they're the good side, but the downside, yeah, I think we should have obviously done better than what we did results-wise.
It's easy to say luck wasn't on our side, but I think probably few could argue against the fact that we probably gone on to win that Hampshire game when we took those 2 wickets, but lost out on DLS. Obviously we had the Surrey game here, rained out. Everyone else seemed to give Surrey a good thumping, so it's a shame to miss out on that one. You say it was a campaign of so nearlies. Their 2 games, had we won, we'd have been in the mix.
Yeah, and then the Essex game was a disappointing one for me, where 100 off 20 overs, 8 wickets in hand is a game that it's in the bag. You've won the game, and we managed to throw that one away through lack of experience in 50-over cricket. To be honest, our young players play T20 cricket. They don't play any 50-over cricket in the second team. So it's a strange tournament where your best white ball players go off to the 100. Yeah. You're left then with young players who haven't quite got into the 100 that have played a lot of T20 cricket and senior red ball cricketers. So yeah, it's a funny mix, but everyone's in the same boat. So there are games there where a little bit more nous in certain situations we'd have seen it through.
Absolutely. One player that obviously didn't feature in that campaign was Peter Milan. Peter obviously signed as our overseas player. I'll turn to Coley for this one. Peter, obviously, we announced fairly recently, had returned to South Africa, where he captains Boland. I know the South African domestic league starts earlier this year, so a number of players have gone back earlier than planned, Peter being one of them.
Yeah, disappointing to see him go early. We had some contact from South Africa towards the back end of our 4-day cricket in July, saying that their season was likely to be extended and they would want Peter to return home early. Once that was confirmed, we made the difficult decision to not select him in the 50-over competition, and subsequently he returned home earlier. We felt that it was in the best interest of the squad to prioritise players who were going to be involved in September, although in a different format. August is a strange month for professional cricketers based in a domestic game at the moment. You play 8 days of cricket across the whole month. So keeping our players involved in cricket on a regular basis during August was really, really important, and that was why we opted to leave Pete out of the 50 over. He's been brilliant for us over the last 12 months. Came in last year, excelled in the 50 over competition, played one of the knocks of the season at Worcester last year, which helped us get promoted. And he's the first to admit he hasn't scored the runs that he would have liked to this year, but he's offered a hell of a lot more than just runs on the field. He's been a great influence in the changing room, an incredible work ethic and trainer, and we're very grateful for everything that he's done for our club over the last 12 months.
Couldn't agree more. Coley, I'll stay with you for this one. Obviously, Peter was our overseas signing for the year. His departure frees up a bit of budget. I know earlier today we'll have announced the news that we've signed Jayant Yadav, former Indian Test player, off spinner who bats as well. Test high score of 104, I think, which is pretty rare for an off spinner that bats at 9. Tell us about Jayant and tell us what you think he'll bring to the squad and why you signed him.
Yeah, so no secret that we were looking for spin all through the year. We obviously had an agreement with Keshav Maharaj, who then subsequently got injured just before the start of our season. We opted not to replace the spinner at that stage, purely to safeguard almost the financial future of the club. Really, it was money that we felt we could save and reallocate in other areas, and I think we've made a good long-term decision from that perspective. Peter going home early has given us an opportunity to revisit the spin option, and we feel that with the games coming up in September, although traditionally September is a bit damper, it does mean that us having a high-quality, world-class spinner in our attack just gives us another dimension. And it also stops the teams from being as confident to produce big spinning surfaces. We saw that at Hampshire. We went down and we played on a surface that spun from ball one. And us having an Indian international spinner in our ranks might just put a question mark in our opponents' heads as to what surface they produced against us. But always great to welcome an international cricketer into our ranks, and we're really looking forward to having him with us.
Jono, back to you for this one. Last month of the campaign, we've got 3 away games. Obviously, the way fixtures tend to roll with us playing at Lords and the ground being unavailable for large parts of the year, that we have a front-loaded home schedule, which obviously leads to an away-loaded end schedule. 3 away games, as Coley says, sides are going to prepare tracks that are going to benefit their attacks. How much of a benefit is that now, having someone like Jayant in the squad to give you those options of spin if you go down to 3 away games?
Of course, it gives us a help. We've got 3 young spinners in our squad who we rate highly, but experience and international experience helps when you're coming up against good players and on surfaces that help spin. So that will definitely give us a more of an advantage going into the last 4 games. We are used to playing away games in the last month of the season. We did the same last year. We've recently come off a good win at Edgbaston, so we know we can compete on away grounds, and just having another spinner in our midst and a quality international one just gives us that little bit of a push for that last few games at the end of the season.
Absolutely. Let's look ahead to that last month. Obviously, you mentioned we come into it off the back of a good win against Warwickshire. 4 huge games up ahead. You were interviewed recently by the ECB Reporters Network when you said you had some confidence and belief that we've got enough in the tank to get over the line and stay up here. Is it a case of looking at Kent and beating their results, or are you looking to catch the likes of Lancs and Notts? What's the mentality?
I think it's dangerous if you keep looking down. I think you've got to look up. There's no reason why we can't go into every game believing that we can win a game. We've done that through the year. It might not look like it with our results, but I think it's taken us probably, and I've said this in interviews before, where it's taken us probably half a year to half a season to adjust to First Division cricket and the difference in standard. The gap now between First and Second Division is huge, and it's taken us a bit of time to adapt to that and start to play the cricket we know we can. And hopefully we saw at Warwickshire just what a side we can be, and hopefully now moving forward with a bit more confidence with that result, we can go into each game believing that we can get a result from it.
Last one for you, Jono. I guess the month of August with 100 and certain players that go away, and obviously the transition into the white ball format for the 50 over stuff, means that you've got some of the squad that haven't had a huge amount of cricket but are very nicely rested going into those last 4 games. You've got people like Mertz, you've got people like Rojo. Blake's featured to a point in the 50 over stuff. You've got someone like Helmy who played a bit in the 100, but you're going into that last month, I guess, with a full complement of seamers all raring to go. Yeah,
everyone's fit, raring to go. It can work both ways. You sort of want to be ticking over and bowling enough to feel in good rhythm and feel in form, and you don't want to be bowling too much that you're tired and aching and sore. So there's a middle ground somewhere. As you saw, we didn't play Toby or Mertz through the 50 over, but we've been ticking them along in the background. So they're raring and ready to go. And as you said, Helmy's hasn't played. I think he's bowled 35 balls. I think he said in the 100, but he's had a program to follow with bowling loads and stuff to keep him going so that he's ready for this last run in. Bams has obviously been playing. Blake played a little bit, rested a little bit. So look, we're in a position where everybody's fit and raring to go, and we'll go to Chelmsford, see what they produce for us, with all bases covered.
I guess you'd have fancied a bit of that back in your day, wouldn't you? Bowl 35 balls in the competition and get paid a damn fortune.
Well, yeah, you could say that. I might still have a right knee. That might have been the case, but no, it's an amazing opportunity now for these guys playing franchise cricket. They're playing in front of big crowds all the time. Get paid well for it. Yep. Get well rested in between. I mean, what a lifestyle that is. So yeah, I'm not jealous at all.
I'm sure, mate. Coley, I guess looking at the 100 very briefly, you must be delighted for Max. I guess of the three of our players that went off to the 100, he's the one that's really shone. Plenty of occasions he's outbatted Joss Butler.
Yeah, delighted first of all that all three got picked up. I think that's a really important thing to say, is that it is, whether we like it or not, whether our members like the 100 as a concept or not, it is the highest level of domestic cricket that a player can play in this country. So any Middlesex player who gets picked up to play in that is a really, really good thing, not only for us but for them and their development. Delighted that Max went in there and shone in that middle order role, that Jono and the coaching group put Max in this year, which was a change from last year. Traditionally, he's opened the batting in white ball cricket, and a really, really good shift to see him in the middle order and dominating games going in at 3 and 4 at that level was brilliant. I was also delighted for Esky as well, and I think sometimes we take Esky's white ball form for granted. You know, let's not forget he's not been picked up in the 100 before this year, and he went in and played some really vital innings for Welsh Fire as well. So delighted for all three of them, and hopefully it gives the rest of the group that motivation, if they need it, that they can go on and perform at that level as well.
Coley, Jono spoke about the need to keep bowlers ticking over. We're here at Radlett today. We're just about to start a 2-day game against SACA, the South Asian Cricket Academy. Gives, I guess, our bowlers a good opportunity to get a few overs into their legs with the red ball ahead of that last month. Must be looking forward to this fixture. And how important is SACA as a programme to the game at large? Yeah,
I think the SACA programme and the work that Tom Brown and those around him have done is a fantastic addition to English cricket, really. I think 6 or 7 players have now progressed from SACA onto professional contracts with counties. We saw Kashif Ali played phenomenally well for Worcester in the 50-over competition. I think was one of the leading run scorers in it. So, and he came out of this programme. So it's an honour to be able to play them. It's an honour to be able to see their talented young people compete against our current professional cricketers. And we're hoping for 2 good days of really competitive cricket.
Absolutely. Last one for you, Coley. I'm going to hopefully allow you to quash a rumour. I don't know where it's come from, but lots of tittle-tattle at Lords during the Lancashire game and here during the last Metro Bank game against Yorkshire, of Simo leaving the club and going to Yorkshire. I've seen it crop up on social media. A few members were talking about it. Thoughts?
So John had a clause in his contract to extend, which we exercised in the middle of last year. So although the rumours are that he's out of contract this year, he isn't. He's still with the club until the end of next season. So
going nowhere. Good to hear. John, I'm not going to ask you to clarify your thoughts on social media, tittle-tattle. But thank you both for joining us. Cheers for the update, really appreciate it. And very best of luck over the next 2 days against SACA. And I dare say Jono will certainly catch up throughout the last 4 games. And good luck.
I look forward to it.
Likewise, mate.